Hello and welcome back to More of a Six. In today's episode, it's just me and Kyle, and we're going to be reviewing the Premier League transfer window. We'll be ranking the biggest deals and discussing the most complex sagas, as well as a lot of other stuff. Obviously, deadline day was yesterday as we're recording, so we've got a lot to break down, and we're just going to get straight into it. So, over £3 billion was spent by Premier League clubs this summer, which is absolutely insane. Spending more than basically every other league combined. It's becoming crazy how much money there is in this league. So the first thing we're going to do tonight is we're going to rank the biggest signings of the summer, and we're going to put them in one of the following tiers. We're going to get Sam to overlay a nice little tier list. The tiers are going to be not convinced, he'll be fine, one to watch, lovely move, and signing of the summer. One rule, we can only put one signing each into that top category. Okay. All good. So we're going to get straight into it.
All good.
The first player is Alexander Isak. He transferred from Newcastle to Liverpool for £125 million, a British transfer record. Where are you going with this?
I might just need you to remind me of the
Okay.
different categories. Sorry.
It's all right. So I've got my script up in front just to keep them because I don't actually have the tier list yet. But it's going to be not convinced, he'll be fine, one to watch, lovely move, and then signing of the summer.
Lovely move and signing off. I think it will be a lovely move. I think we know the quality that Isak has. Obviously, it's kind of went down in people's kind of the way that they hold him from a respect point of view, because he did not handle it very well. But I mean, he just is an unbelievable player. And I think the majority of people's reactions when Liverpool signed him was like, we might as well hand the league over to them right now. He just does take them to the next level. Even it didn't seem possible that could even happen, but he takes them to the next level.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I completely agree. I'd also put him in lovely move. I just think there's a couple of signings that are going to be better than him, but you're taking one of the better goal scorers in the Premier League, and you're just further strengthening your side. So I think we can both agree there. Next up, we have Florian Wirtz. So obviously he moved from Bayer Leverkusen to Liverpool in a deal worth around £150 million. Another massive outlay from Liverpool, who were the biggest spenders in the Premier League, spending close to £500 million in this window. It might actually have just been over that. But where do you think Florian Wirtz should be in this tier?
I'll let you go first on this one because I went first
Okay.
on that one.
For me, because I remember the listeners might remember, sorry, that when we were first doing this, Corey said that this was going to be a big flop. And in fairness, 3 games into the season, I know it is early days, but 3 games in,
He's not been
he
great.
hasn't impressed. He's not looked great. He seems to kind of just float through games. He's obviously got quality, but I'm just not seeing what I may be expected to see. And because of that, I'm going to put him in. He'll be fine. I just think that, maybe if it's just for this season, he just needs a transition year. But to be honest, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I just can't see him setting the world alight.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I've got him in. He'll be fine as well. It's one of them where, he's not forgotten how to play football over the course of a summer, if you know what I mean. He's been in and around the Leverkusen team since he was a teenager, and has been their main man for years now. I just don't really see a world in where he doesn't eventually adapt to because it's a physicality thing really with him. He's maybe just not used to the pace of the league, how big and fast the defenders are. But I mean, they've paid that amount of money for a reason. There are literal scouts whose job it is to look at a player, and if they're saying that he's worth that amount of money, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't agree more. Next up, another Liverpool signing, Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt. Around £80 million was outlaid on the French striker, and he's had a very, very good start to the season. In fairness, he's scoring consistently. He looks a real threat. You can go first for this one. Which tier are you putting him in?
To be fair, I'm holding out on signing of the summer for a specific player. I'm hoping that it's in the list. I didn't get to properly look at it, but I'm going to have him in lovely move. He has been very, very, very impressive since he's transferred to Liverpool. I think it did not take him long at all to really kind of get used to England, really, in English football. And I think a lot of people were actually kind of not worried, but I think maybe thought that he wouldn't do as well to begin with as what he has done, because he hasn't scored a massive amount of goals in his career so far. He's got quite a short career so far, but he just does look brilliant. He's 6'4", and he's moving around like that. He's just so silky, and he is a real problem for defenders. I've got him in lovely move, but definitely there is a debate to maybe have him in Son in the summer based off of how he's done so far.
Yeah, of course. I think signing of the summer is one where we kind of have to wait and look back later.
Yeah.
But I would agree. Obviously, there might be somewhere we disagree. We are going to have to come to an agreement, unless obviously you use your golden card for the signing of the summer. We get one of those each, as I said. I just echo your thoughts there. His first competitive game was against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield, and within 5 minutes he scored a brilliant goal. He just seems to have all the kind of ingredients that a good Premier League striker needs. And, I think maybe people weren't expecting it, and were maybe, when they signed him, it was kind of obviously battling with Newcastle and maybe comparing him to Isak. But I mean, he's just absolutely hit the ground running. So you can't complain. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next player, which is going to be Xavi Simons. Leipzig to Spurs in a deal worth around £65 million. As the Spurs fan of our podcast, Kyle, I'm going to give you the reins here.
I'm really fighting the urge not to put him in signing in the summer, because I just think that is such a good signing. I've not been as excited about us signing a player in Simons probably since the summer of where we signed Ndombele, which I know obviously that did not work out very well, but at the time that was
a great signing.
That was a huge signing. That was meant to transform us as a club. But I think Simons, for the amount we paid for him as well, I think it was just over £50 million. It's not awful. Obviously, it's a lot of money, but it's not awful either. He's only 22. He's had he's played a lot of football. He had a really impressive season at Leipzig. I think I'll put him in lovely move. Because he hasn't played yet, so we don't know how he'll be. But I'm so excited to see him play.
Purely for the fact that we haven't seen him yet, and I think because of his age, I would almost err. I think between one to watch and lovely move, but I'd almost err further towards one to watch, because I just think that purely for the fact that there's so much unknown about it. And I know he's done well, but he's also had spells, because I mean he's been playing since he was 15, 16. He has had spells where he's kind of just not. He's similar to what Wirtz has been doing, and I do worry that maybe we could see something similar happening with him. But because it's a Spurs player, I'm not too fussed about trying to argue my case, and we can put him into lovely move.
Thank you very much.
It's okay, I'll give you that one. The second Spurs player on the list, and the final Spurs player on the list, is Mohamed Kudus. West Ham to Spurs, 63 million. I think that was euros. Some of these are mixed between that. Anyway, again, you're the Spurs fan. Talk to me about Kudus.
You know what? I completely forgot that, because we signed him around early July. I kind of forgot that was a possibility of this coming up in this video. I'm almost tempted to maybe move Simons to one to watch, actually. and put Kudus in lovely signing because he has been really good for us so far. Obviously, played really well in the Super Cup versus PSG. Got 2 assists on the opening weekend of the season, and he is just absolutely brilliant. He's back to his best, kind of what we saw when he was at Ajax, when he was at that first season at West Ham. You know, playing in a position that he feels strongest in, rather than playing on the left or like kind of like a shoehorn to allow Bowen to also be in the same side when he was at West Ham. So I would put that in lovely move. He's cracking player.
Okay, I'm happy to drop Simmons down to have Kudus further up. That's absolutely fine by me. I won't say too much on Kudus. I do think it's a great signing. I think he's just offers. He's got a very unique profile, and I think that's something that we're going to see quite a lot of. Just ridiculous pace, very skillful. Anyway, the next signing is, I think this could be one of our first ones that we could be finding a little lower down. Amari Hutchinson, Ipswich to Forest for 43.4 million. I think it was a 40 million pound release clause, if I remember correctly.
Steep.
It's steep. I mean, I'll give my thoughts and then I'll let you share yours.
Go for it.
That it's an ridiculous amount of money for a player who did not do very well in the league last season. Granted, for a poor Ipswich side, but even then, I think what you notice is that a player like Liam Delap definitely stood out in that Ipswich side. Amari Hutchinson scored, I think, 3 goals. I think they were probably all quite good goals because that's the kind of player he is. But £40 million for a kind of flash in the pan player just seems like an awful lot of money, especially when you've also bought in the likes of Carlin Wendo, Dan Ndoye. You already, of course, have Callum Hudson-Odoi. I also don't think that he was an upgrade on Alanga, who obviously they sold to Newcastle. So, and we'll get onto that later, but for me, I'd have it in not convinced. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, some sympathy with him. You know, he can't really do too much about the price tag of what teams have paid for him. But it is one of them of where he does kind of have to try and at least get on with it and match that price tag, and I just don't think he will. Like I said, talented player, but didn't really capture the eye of many when he was at Ipswich. Like you said, attention was kind of really focused on Liam Delap, who he went for less, didn't he? Delap, he went for, I think it was 30.
Yeah, I think it was 30 million. Again, a release.
Yeah, but I mean that in itself kind of you put it in the lower tier if the standout player is going for 10, 12 million less than what Hutchinson is.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I just think it's just an absolutely insane amount of money. And to be fair, I think we have seen some massively inflated fees for players. And I'm going to jump a little bit further down the list just to get a nice segue in there because I want to talk about Johan Visser. Brentford to Newcastle for £55 million. Seemed to be quite a common amount of money. And it does seem to be that, just a kind of decent Premier League player is now costing at least 50 to £60 million. What do you make of this move? I think a massive thing to take into account is, of course, his age. 29 years old. Yes, he had a great season last year and a decent season the year before that. But at 29, as a forwards tend to play their best football between the ages of you'd probably say 27 and 30, maybe at a push. And that's probably being generous. What would you say for Johan Visser?
I was really surprised about the price, as you mentioned. I would have thought that maybe 40 million would have been, I think, a fair, because he is an established Premier League player. There's no two ways about it. He is a good player. He does improve quite a few teams. I think 55 million for a player who like you said, he's probably got another 3, maybe 4 years at a push of where he's like the top of his game. But we could be proven wrong. But again, like, it's just the price tag. It really throws me off. So I'm gonna put he'll be fine because he will do well. but the price tag I think just does drop it down a little bit, in my opinion.
I completely agree. I think Hilby finds a good shout. What we're going to see now, there are a lot of players from the same clubs on here because, as we know, a lot of clubs did kind of do a lot of money. The clubs that spent a lot of money tended to spend the most money on lots of different players, and a lot of them were decent. I have tried to include a mixture of signings in here, hence Amari Hutchinson, because I don't want to just include all the best signings because then we won't have anyone in the lower tiers. We're going to jump back up to our friend Corey's favourite footballer, Granit Xhaka, Leverkusen to Sunderland for £17 million. For me, I think this is a great signing. I think it's quite a high fee for his age, but the calibre of play you're getting in, coming straight in as club captain, I just think it's a really, really good signing, a great incoming. He's going to make a big difference. He knows how to play in the Premier League. He's done it before. We've already seen his influence on the pitch. He assisted the winner at the weekend for Wilson Isidore. And I just think that, for me, it has to go in. Lovely move. What do you think?
Yeah, I echo that. Lovely move. I think as well that the kind of profile of player he is as well. He's not really known for his athleticism. So I think the age thing, you could maybe get away with it a little bit. You know, he's not a proper athletic midfielder such as like Baleba, for example, or Papa Matasar, who, you know, they cover every single inch of grass. He's a different type of player. But yeah, the last 4 years, like, I think if you told a Sunderland fan that they would have signed a player who would start every week from Leverkusen and Arsenal in the last 4 or 5 years, they wouldn't believe you. That's how good of a signing it is. So yeah, lovely move. Really, really good move.
Has to be lovely move. I completely agree. Now back to the other club up around that part of the country, Newcastle again. This time Anthony Elanga from Nottingham Forest for 55 million again. What do you make of that signing?
Obviously, he was really good against Forest, but I wonder if he looked a lot better than what he was based on the system that he was in, playing to his strengths massively. Nuno being a counter-attacking, defensive manager, hitting teams on the break, and Elanga, you'd probably say, is one of the best counter-attacking players in the league.
He's so fast.
He is ridiculously quick, and I just think with Newcastle, who probably like to have a bit more possession of the ball, break down teams a bit more, I wonder how he would fare against a low block. I've got him in ones to watch because he is a good player. It's just a matter of, you know, if Eddie Howe can get the most out of him and if Elanga can adapt to quite different systems quite quickly.
Yeah, no, I think I'd also put him on to watch show. The Wi-Fi on my laptop is playing up, so I'm struggling to edit the script to make a note of that. But one to watch, I think, is fair for Elanga. I think you're right. I don't think he's going to set the world alight, and I think he's maybe frustrated at times. I'd probably be between he'll be fine and one to watch, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, you know, one to watch is probably a reasonable uh, a reasonable rating for him. Okay, next up, we're going to go up to Manchester. Mateus Cunha's move. Obviously, Wolverhampton Wanderers sold him to Manchester United for around 70 million. It's a lot of money, Kyle. It's a lot of money. What do you think about Cunha?
It is a lot of money, but I think from watching United the last couple of games of this season, he probably has been their standout player. He has looked quite bright. But I don't know whether are we ranking it based off of like the teams, like what the signing would mean to the team, or could we also like put in like about the player? Because I think from a player's point of view, I have no idea why he's went there. See, it's just a graveyard
A
for players.
combination of everything. We're ranking the move. We're ranking it. So yeah, I think you have to take into account the team that they're going to, because obviously a lot of these players are very good players. But yeah, I think the main idea is that we're going to be taking into account the team, the fee, if they're going to work there. You know, obviously for Cunha's sake, with Manchester United, I mean, I'll obviously share my views in a minute, but I think it's also got to be a point of kind of where Man United are at the moment. So take everything into account, and that's how we're going to rank them. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to put him in one to watch because he is a very good player. It's just whether he can, kind of stay afloat in what is a really, really turbulent club in Manchester United. We've seen so many top players go there over the last couple of years and have just fallen to absolute pieces, whether it's a management thing, just a setup from the top to bottom of the football club. Who really knows what's going on there? But I'll put him in ones to watch because he is a very good player, and it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of do what Bruno Fernandes has been doing the last couple of years and kind of just drag his team along to finishing a bit higher up the table.
I feel like I need to disagree with you here, and I don't
Where
want
you
to
put
do
him?
that. For me, he'll be fine, just because of the club. I feel like you need to
Yeah.
take into consideration the club, and I just think that I know he's looked okay in the opening weeks, but part of me just feels like this isn't a move that really. I just feel like there's a case with Man United where, because of how the club are right now, you've just got to take that into account, and they just losing to Grimsby, they still look poor. So I would argue he'll be fine. I'm happy for us to come to an
I'll
agreement.
I'll put him in. He'll be fine. Yeah, because
Okay.
like you said, it's a huge kind of club, not only just from the size point of view, but also just with everything going on there at the moment. Like, it is such huge pressure for any player coming in for that amount of money as well.
It's a
You
big
really
step
expect
up.
them to. You really like they are expected to hit the ground running straight away and make a difference. So
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, let's go back to Newcastle. We're gonna go with Nick Woltemada's move from Stuttgart to Newcastle. This was quite a late one in the window. 85 million. It's a lot of money for someone who has not the most experience in men's football, and also hasn't scored the most amount of goals either. He's a profile that kind of has impressed. He did very well in the under-21 Euros, obviously lost in the final to England, scored a hatful of goals there. But I guess when you're 6'7" or 6'8" or whatever he is, you probably should be doing well in under-21 tournaments, because a lot of the players, especially against England with the likes of Harvey Elliott, are about half your
yeah.
size. What do you think about this move?
Well, I'll ask you first because I've went first quite a few times. I'm
I
interested.
for me for me, I just think it's such a massive fee. I also think that with the players they already have, I think it's tough, isn't it? I think he will play, and I think I just I do feel a little bit. I know this won't impact my ranking, but I do feel a little bit for the likes of Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes, because they've always done well for Newcastle, and I understand that they need to push on. But I mean, as an Isak replacement, he's probably decent. I mean, it's funny since Isak left. You see Newcastle fans saying that he was always injured and he wasn't actually that good, to be honest. But obviously, don't believe any of
Cool.
that really. um, for me, I'd say one to watch. I think there's a lot of question marks around Nick Voltemada. I'm happy for you to disagree, but I think at the minute that's where I'd put him.
You know what? This might be my first not convinced because
Really? You're going to
I
need to
just
convince me then. You're going to have to convince me why you're not convinced.
the amount of money that transfer, 85 million euros for. I mean, yeah, he looked good in the Euros, but so did Harvey Elliott. You know, I mean, Harvey Elliott was one of the standout players in the Euros. Um, and he was a rotation player at Liverpool. Obviously, got his move to Aston Villa, I think yesterday or the day before. But I just, I don't know. I'm really, I'm really unsure with him. It's the fee. He is a good player, but I just think the fee is absolutely mentally high.
I think I
I
think we could say that about a lot of these moves actually this window as well. There is a lot of overpays, and I think we'll get onto that in a bit.
I'll concede and I'll put him in one to watch. I think I hope he does well because he's such a cool player. He's such an interesting profile of player. Like to 6'7", 6'8", and being that like silky and fluid in the way like he moves with the ball, like he's dribbling for a player of his size. It's really unique, a really unique profile. So I hope he does well, but it's just that price tag really throws me off, man.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's completely fair. I'm happy to. Yeah, we'll stick with one to watch. I think, to be fair,
Yeah,
I could have seen not convinced. I don't. We've only put one player in there so far, which is Amari Hutchinson. I think we'll probably end up putting maybe the next player in there because the next player is Benjamin Sesko. Leipzig to Manchester United. Leipzig again selling to the Premier League. I think there's 4 or 5 players they've sold to the Premier League this summer. Um, for a massive fee, £75 million for Sesko. And for me, that fee is purely as a result of how desperate United were. You know, and we've seen that a lot. The fee they paid for Rasmus Højlund, the fee that they paid for Joshua Zirkzee, just crazy inflation on these players because they know that United have the money, and in my opinion, they're stupid enough to spend it. I don't think I need to say much more, but for me, Benjamin Sesko goes in not convinced. I've
yeah,
got a good, I've
I
got,
agree.
I've got a good argument, but I just want to hear what you say
Go
before
for
I.
it. N-
Well, the
No,
main
go
thing I'll say
for
is
it.
that
Go for it.
you spent £75 million on a striker, and he takes the 10th penalty against Grimsby Town.
That was so strange. Like
So
so
bizarre.
strange.
So whether that was
No,
the decision, I just don't know.
I'm going to put him in not convinced as well. You know, if we're ranking Cunha as low as what we have, who is much more experienced, has Premier League experience, then I think Sesko, who has again is a striker who hasn't scored a lot of goals, like during seasons in the league. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's reached like the low teens maybe for goals each year in the league. I might be able to get it up just very
I
quickly.
think I think so. Yeah, no, he's not. He's never really scored that many goals. He's kind of always been this kind of really. There seem to be players that can to get a lot of hype and a lot of coverage, but I don't think that sometimes they deserve it. I think and you'll have people talking about them who quite obviously never actually watch them play. And I think Sesko is one of these. I think he's had flashes of brilliance in the Champions League, and generally he's never really done that much. It's a 5-year deal. It's a lot of money. It's just a lot of money, and he's so raw. And I think that's the thing for me. Spending that much money on a talent or a prospect is it's a bit of a risk.
I've got it here actually. So his best season in the league, in the Bundesliga came in 2023-24. He scored 14 goals in 31 games, which I mean, £75 million. Obviously, I know like he might offer a lot more than just goals. Who knows? But you do sign strikers to put the ball in the back of the net, and if you're only scoring 14 times in a season and you're paying 75 million for that, that is mental.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and therefore I think not convinced is fine. I think
Yeah,
the final Manchester United player on the list is Brian Mbeumo from Brentford to Manchester United. Again, about 75 million. We'll try and get a couple of these checked off nice and quick. For me, this is one to watch. I think he's going to be pretty good. I'm trying to make sure that I've got that the right around. I'm kind of between one to watch and lovely move actually because I think Mbuemo he's just so direct, and we've already seen that he's going to score goals for them. And if he's going to score important goals as he did against Burnley, and even against Grimsby as well, where he's picked the ball up from deep, drive through the midfield, and has slotted home a really nice finish. That would mean I'd start to move further towards lovely move. The only thing that would stop me from doing that is that it's Manchester United and they will inevitably not have a very good season. What do you think about Brumo?
I've got him in one to watch. I just think, like you said about it being at United, that brings it down for me from lovely move. But I mean, to be fair, we were linked with him at the start of the window before he went to United, and I was really hoping that we did sign him. Obviously, reuniting with Thomas Frank, the thought of that, like that was, I really, really wanted us to sign him, but it didn't work out. We got Kudus instead. But yeah, I've got him in ones to watch. So I don't know what you want to do about this, whether I have him in there or lovely
I
signing
think
or
I think we can I think we can keep him in one to watch. I'm happy with that.
yeah.
I'm not,
Okay.
I was kind of leaning more that way. Okay, next one I think is quite easy. Calvert-Lewin, Everton to Leeds on a free transfer. What do you think?
Just not convinced. Not convinced even for a free transfer, which I mean speaks volumes about the caliber of player really that Calvert Lewin is these days. Not going to go into too much more. Yeah.
I know I don't think we need to say much more. I just completely agree. As I said, I wanted to put a couple of kind of different ones, not just the biggest money signings. I agree, not convinced. He's not had a very good start to life at Leeds. Missed three sitters against Sheffield Wednesday when they lost in the League Cup, and just isn't a very good player, to be honest.
No.
Next, excuse me, there's a hair in my mouth. I would go. This is one. Okay, this is one that I'm excited for. Tajani Reinders, Milan to
Oh
Manchester
God.
City for just £45 million. What do you think?
The floor is yours. Honestly, go for it. I know you like him.
I'm going to put my foot down here. This for me is the signing of the summer. I think for the fee,
Really?
yeah. I'm just looking through the ones we've got left. Yeah, I'm going to go over it. Signing of the summer. I just think the fee. I think the player you're getting, the kind of prospect that he is. He's got so much. There is a high likelihood that he will be playing for Manchester City for maybe the next 10 years. He looks like he's taken to the Premier League like a duck to water. I know City have struggled a little bit since that opening day win, obviously losing against Spurs and Brighton. I just think he's going to be the guy that, I don't know. We said, who did I say it for earlier? Where it was like, this season, I don't think he's going to, I think it's Verts. I said he'll be fine, but I just think that what we saw against Wolves, to do that on your Premier League debut, have a man of the match performance, a goal, two assists, and he just looks great. And I don't need to say much more than that. For me, Tajani Reinders is my signing of the summer. Obviously, I'll ask you your thoughts, but as I've used my golden signing of the summer card, which I can't use again, that's the level that he will be put in.
Okay. I can't really argue with the golden card thingy. But I would have had him in. To be fair, I don't know why I'm acting like it's like I'm completely in disagreement with you. I definitely think that there is a shout of having him in there. He's
He's got
such
to
a
be
good
lovely
player.
move at least. At least he has
No,
to be
yeah,
lovely.
absolutely, absolutely lovely move. It might be one where once we've done all of the list, I might come back to and be like, you know what, actually, there's another player in mind as well at the moment who we've spoken about, who I'm probably leaning a bit towards.
That's fine.
Um, but
You can
but
always go
yeah,
back.
lovely
Okay,
move for
well,
me.
he's my signing of the summer, and I'm happy to lock that in. So he's up there for me. Okay, next, Kevin from Shakhtar to Fulham for £40 million. It's a lot of money. He's not actually been at Shakhtar that long. I think maybe only this season or maybe 1 year that he's been there. He's scored a few goals, a few nice goals in the qualifiers for Europe as well. It's a lot of money though. It's a hell of a lot of money for a Brazilian from who's playing in the Ukrainian league. What do you think about this?
Honestly, Shakhtar and just spawning these random Brazilians out of nowhere. It's kind of cool to be fair, and they always have like just strange names like Kevin, Fred.
Yeah,
Like it's um
they do
I'll put
actually.
him.
They're middle-aged
Yeah, no,
English.
it's cool. I'll have him in ones to watch because I've never actually seen him play. my friend is a Fulham fan and he's quite excited about it. I don't know whether that's because he thinks that he's a good player or because Fulham have actually spent quite a bit of money for once.
Well, yeah, well, he's
Um,
Brazilian. I mean, I'm
yeah,
happy to agree and have him in ones to watch. I think it's a decent signing.
yeah.
It's exciting. I think by definition it is one to watch. Um, People might not be happy that we have that higher than Mateus Cunha, but who cares? The next one, Jamie Gittins, Dortmund to Chelsea for 55 million. The one thing I'll say about this move, they don't need him. That's my
No.
instant thought on it. I think you could say that about he's not in the tier list, but you could say that about Garnacho as well. It's a lot of money to spend, and I know that Chelsea can very well to sell, and they're not really in trouble with PSR because they found all these loopholes. But for me, I think just he'll be fine. Yeah, and I think it's that simple. I don't think he's going to set the world alight. What do you think?
I'm just trying to think if he'll really even play that much. I'm going to have him in not convinced, to be honest. I, I I just don't think he will play that much. I think Garnacho will be ahead of him. Um, Neto, if he plays on the left, will be ahead of him. I
Yeah,
think as well. Estavio seems to.
Estevao,
I
I would
think,
definitely do.
yeah. I just don't really see a way in which he kind of in which he really gets to play a lot of football, to be honest. And I think last season as well, he wasn't too great with Dortmund. I think he only actually. I'll double check, but I think he actually only scored one league goal.
Yeah, I don't think he
Which
had. It's just a weird signing. I think. Um, so yeah, for me, I think I'd probably argue the he'll be fine line just purely because he is a decent player, but he's just
mm,
going to be on sort of, isn't he, in a few years? I think that's just how I feel about it.
yeah,
Um, we're going to move on to the next player. And you just mentioned him. I think I'm going to give you the floor purely because I need to blow my nose quickly. But Esteval from Palmeiras to Chelsea for £49 million. What are your thoughts on that move?
lovely signing, lovely signing. Honestly, I think when he came on against Palace on game week 1, yeah, he looked very raw, which obviously is no surprise. He's only 18, 19 years old, in his first game in England, playing out of Brazil. Um, and I said on the podcast that week, I said, I really want to see him play against West Ham, actually get like a lot more minutes against West Ham. And he was really, really, really good. He's just got that, like, it sounds so stereotypical, but just that Brazilian flair about him. He's
He's
fearless as
so
well for his
physical.
age.
Oh, it's
Yeah, he's
outrageous. Like,
really good.
I was the fact that on that first match week, I was actually terrified watching a brand new player to this league at that age. And every time he got on the ball, I was just like, "Oh Jesus! Like this could be it." He just beats players just every time. It's just ridiculous. So good, so quick, so direct, like you said, so fearless, so courageous. He clearly has bags of belief in his own ability. And I mean, and this is kind of what I mean with like the Jamie Gittins signing is that you've spent another 50 odd million on a player that you just don't need. And I get they have
Mm.
this whole thing, they like to kind of hoard talent. But I just don't understand the point in it. I don't really understand the logic behind constantly wanting every decent player. But for me, I'm not going to argue. Lovely signing, it has to be. He's just brilliant. The last Chelsea signing that we're going to cover is João Pedro, obviously signed from Brighton for around 60 million. I think around 55 million pounds. I mean, I'll start with this one. For me, it's a lovely signing. I think we've seen already. We saw in the Club World Cup that he is going to be the kind of focal point for Chelsea. And I think that's a massive thing for them because I think what Chelsea struggled with last year was when Cole Palmer went through a run of games where he wasn't doing very well, they didn't have anyone to kind of pick up the slack. João Pedro could maybe be that player, along with the likes of Esteban as well. But for me, Pedro has to be in lovely signing. He's already proven his worth for Chelsea, winning them the Club World Cup. That essentially paid for his move to the club. And in the Premier League, he's scored a couple of goals already. He's playing well. He looks hungry. He's got obviously got a lot of desire to prove himself to the Chelsea fans. And I just think it's a very good move. What about you?
Firstly, I just want to say that I was wrong about Gittins. It was 2023-24 where he only scored one goal in the Bundesliga. He scored 8 last season and got 3 assists. So
Okay,
my
so
bad on that one.
slightly
So
better
yeah,
number.
yeah,
It's a lot of money there.
a lot better than what I thought. But yeah, João Pedro, I think really upper tier, lovely signing. He has been really good so far. Obviously, very good player when he was at Brighton. Already got that Premier League experience. Not breaking the bank either. They didn't break the bank for him, which a
Well, I
lot
mean,
of other teams have done.
just just for context quickly, they got him for less than Cunha, less than Mbumo, less than Sesko, comfortably by the way, less than Voltemada, and I don't think you can tell me that any of those players are going to score more goals or do better than João Pedro does this
Mm.
year. It just has to be lovely signing, doesn't it, mate?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
I'm
absolutely.
glad we agree. We have 4 players left. Dango Ouattara now. Bournemouth to Brentford for 40 million. It was a weird signing for me when it first happened. It's just a kind of sideways step, maybe even a downgrade. But I guess maybe he saw the departures of Mbumo and then subsequently Visser and thought that he could go in and be the main man at Brentford. And he's had a really good start so far, hasn't he? Scored twice.
Mm.
Obviously, I think actually scored once because he had a goal disallowed at Sunderland, didn't he, for being offside? But he's a
Yes,
decent
yeah.
player. What do you think about this move? It's a lot of money.
I I think yeah, it's a lot of money. But I think ones to watch because he obviously is a good player. He started well for them. The price tag is a bit steep, but he's only young, and like you said, he can kind of be the main man at Brentford now without Wissa and Bremo. Norgard obviously not an attacker, but it's another big player that Brentford lost. So yeah, I'm going to put him in ones to watch. To be fair,
Yeah,
it's
I
just the
completely
price
agree.
tag that brings it down for me.
I
Yeah,
completely agree. Yeah, one to watch. I think, to be honest, I don't think any player moving to Brentford that you could really put in a lovely move, but purely because they're just Brentford, aren't they? With the greatest respect.
yeah,
Um, Next up, we have 3 Arsenal players to finish it. The first one is Zubimendi from Real Sociedad to Arsenal for £65 million. In fact, all of these players went for, I think this is euros actually, all 3 of these players went for 65 million euros. So first up is Zubimendi. What do you make of that move?
lovely signing. Um, he just is a very, very, very good player. He had a lot of top teams after him. I know Liverpool were interested. I believe United. I think United were, but they're interested in everyone these days. But I know for certain that Liverpool were. Yeah, he is it pains me to say it, but he is a really, really, really good player. So I would have him in lovely signing for me.
Yeah, I don't need to add much more to that. I completely agree. We've already seen he's been really good. I think at the start of the season, he kind of just sitting next to Rice and allowing Rice to push forward a little bit more. And he is one of those players. I watched the Arsenal Liverpool game, and you don't really notice Zubimendi that much. And I think that's probably the biggest
Mm,
compliment you can pay him because he doesn't really make any
absolutely,
mistakes.
yeah.
Next up, we're going to go to one of my favourite ever players, Eberechi Eze from Palace to Arsenal. Again, 65 million euros. Um, this I'm stuck here between one to watch and lovely signing. I think if he was going to play every week, it's a lovely signing. I think he's going to be brilliant. And to be honest, I think once he does play or get a couple of starts, he won't be moved from the team. The only issue I have with this is that against Liverpool, uh, Arteta just opted for Gabriel Martinelli, and I don't understand why you do that. Eze's a much better player. Um, I'm really stuck on this one. What do you think?
I mean, obviously, you'll know a lot more about Eze than what I do, and obviously with the whole saga with him, with Tottenham, and all the reports that have came out, of him, phoning Arteta, seeing if there was any way of them signing him. He's kind of lost a bit of respect from me, to be honest.
I think
But he's an Arsenal fan, so I kind of get it. I'm gonna have him in ones to watch because the thing is, you've said many times before, like you and the Palace boys, that he's not a winger. Like he can play on the wing, but like he shouldn't be deployed there every week. And I just think unless they drop Odegaard, that's where he's going to be playing. And
yeah,
it's like,
I think that's such an
yeah,
important point to make. I really do, because I think, like I said, he's obviously started. Well, he's only been there a week, but Martinelli starting over him is a concern for me. I think if I was Arteta, Eze goes straight in. I don't think at left wing. I agree. I think he plays his best football in the 10. Are they going to drop Martin Odegaard? I mean, I
I
doubt
don't think
it.
they will.
Neither do I, and that's why
And
I
as
think I
well,
would go. I'm going to agree with you. I think it has to be one to watch. But I think if he was going in and there was no Martin Odegaard, then he was going in as the 10. It's a lovely signing. But because there's kind of this, we don't know where he's going to play, how many minutes he's going to get. I think ones to watch is probably fair.
yeah,
Yeah, sweet. We'll put him there.
Absolutely. I want to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, our final player, Victor Gyökeres from Sporting to Arsenal. I will let you start because again, I need to blow my nose quickly.
Not convinced. I think, how old is he now? 27, I believe he is. He found his level in the Portuguese league.
Yeah.
He couldn't
he's
really
getting there. He's getting
there. I don't know. It's a lot of money. I think he's very one-dimensional.
Are you just saying this because he's an Arsenal player?
No, because honestly, I ranked Zubimendi in lovely signing.
True.
Like I'm gonna be fair with it. The same way as I hate Chelsea, but João Pedro is a lovely signing. I just think he's very one-dimensional. It's very much just kick the ball and run with it. Not a lot more into it, goes on really. As well, I watched a lot of clips actually of his headed attempts, and for how tall he is and how big of a player he is, he's not amazing in the air.
No, he's pretty crap.
He isn't great. Which
yeah.
To
be honest, I agree. I think I'd probably edge further towards he'll be fine just because he will score goals. But I just don't like watching that again, that Liverpool Arsenal game. And in those games, you need your kind of big players to really step up. And he just was not good. He couldn't control the ball. He couldn't hold the ball up. He wasn't winning his aerial duels. Granted, against Gabriel, who's one of the better aerial ball winners in the league. But for me, it's just like, and I said this when it happened, that it's just not something that really just excites me. I think that he's probably going to do as well as Kai Havertz would have done if he played the entire season. And I don't think that's that, upset. I mean, what's he done? He scored twice against Leeds in a 5-0 win. One of them was a penalty.
Yeah.
And the other one, he's kind of cut inside and just rolled it into the corner. I don't think he's done anything yet that other players can't do. And for me, I just think he'll be fine. I think we'll get absolutely crucified. So if he's any lower, but he'll be fine. I don't really care, to be honest. I think that's where he is. So that's every player done. Now, you haven't given us a signing in the summer, so you can go back through the list. Any of the players that we've spoken about, you can now make a decision on if you want to move them up. I can't argue
going to
this,
move. Right, okay. So what is this, my golden card, is it?
This is it. You've got the choice.
So I am going to move up into signing of the summer based off of what we've seen so far as well. Hugo Ekitike.
Okay.
He is such a good player. Like I remember when, I think it might have been the Community Shield, where we'd either messaged in the group and we said Hugo Ekitike is a problem. And literally within the first 5-10 minutes, he is a problem. He's 6'4". He's really silky on the ball. He's quick. he's got an unbelievable shot from far out as well. It's that bottom right corner, him cutting in. He loves it. He scored one against us in the Europa League when he was at Frankfurt, literally identical to the one against Palace. He is, he's just such a good player. I honestly think he'll be a better signing than Isak purely because he's so much cheaper than what Isak is. Don't get me wrong, Isak is a great signing, but they paid 130 million, so he has to be a great signing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. There's not really, and that's kind of what my logic was with Verts earlier as well. That you spent over 100 million pounds. If you're spending 100 million pounds on a player, I expect them to come in and in their first game score an assist or get a brace or score a hat trick or be the man that wins the game. For 100
Yeah,
million pounds, you should be waiting on signings to kind of bed in. If you're going to spend 80 million and a player's going to come in and do that, even better, right? And that's what's happened with Ekatike. I can't argue with that at all. I think having Tijani Reinders and Ekatike as our signings of the summer are pretty much, I mean, I'm happy with that, to be honest. Ekatike probably would have been my second choice there. I do worry a little bit, though, with Isak coming in, if that's going to hinder his game time. I wonder what he'll be thinking, actually. Anyway, we're going to move on and we're going to round off this episode with a little bit of chat about deadline day itself. Obviously, it was one of the most hectic we've ever had, really, especially as a Palace fan.
it's brilliant.
I was working it. I was covering the entire day from about 9 a.m. I think I had 15 hours of screen time on my phone by the end of it. Did podcasts, did Twitter Spaces, did TikTok lives, all sorts. It was mental. Big moves happened though on that final day because big clubs had left it late. Obviously, Isak is a saga that's rumbled on all summer long. He's refused to train, play, travel with Newcastle, caused lots of issues behind the scenes for the club. He finally got his move. Another player that kicked their toys out the pram, Johan Visser at Brentford. Obviously, spoke about both of those moves in the tier list. He kicked his toys out the pram again, kicked up a big fuss, and he eventually, at the final hour, got his move to Newcastle. There was a rumour going around as well that obviously a deal sheet would be handed in for Visser to extend the deadline essentially to 9 p.m. And with 5 minutes left of the deadline, he had failed to sign a piece of paperwork. And they had to send one of his agents sprinting through the training ground at Newcastle to find him to get him to sign it so that the deal could be completed in time. Anyway, the reason that I bring those players up is because they both refused to play for their respective clubs and they both got their moves away that they were pushing for. For Crystal Palace captain Mark Gay, on the other hand, playing the respectful game didn't work. Now, there was long-standing interest from Liverpool. They made a kind of verbal offer or showed verbal interest around the date of the Community Shield, obviously, that Palace went on to win. And the issue that Palace had was that they didn't know how serious. This is me kind of half of what I know, half of me inferring things that Palace didn't know how serious that interest was. In fact, Liverpool only actually made their first official bid just 48 hours before the deadline, before Palace played Villa. Gay spent the entire window behaving like a true professional. He travelled away to Austria on pre-season. He played in the Community Shield. He played every game and has, arguably put in one of his best Palace performances away at Villa Park, scoring that unbelievable goal. But he did signal his desire to join Liverpool at the last minute, and because Palace had failed to line up what the club deemed a suitable replacement, the move collapsed, and it kind of raises the question of should players will this show players that if you throw your toys out the pram and kick up a big stinking fuss, the clubs don't have actually any control, or does it maybe show that players don't have as much power as they once thought? There's rumours that Glasner threatened to walk if Gay was sold. I don't know how true those are. I wouldn't be surprised, but is this showing that actually clubs, if they don't want to sell, they don't need to sell, even if that does mean that subsequently you will lose a player of that quality on a free transfer?
I mean, it just goes to show that kind of loyalty in today's game of like players, it doesn't get you anywhere. People always talk about, for example, players of the era of like Francesco Totti, who devoted his entire career to Roma and going, oh, you know, we need more players like this. We need more players who are loyal to their clubs. Blah blah blah. The thing is, it doesn't. If you're at like, with no disrespect to Palace, who have been brilliant the last year or so, in the grand terms of wages, viewership, fans, they are a smaller club in comparison to other clubs in the league, right? And it is a case of, if you are loyal when being a good player of a caliber as what Gahey is, it's not going to get you anywhere, and it proves that. And the fact that you've got people like Michael Owen tweeting about it, who I don't think there's a single fan base who he has played for in his career that actually likes him. If you've got someone, honestly, like, you ask Liverpool fans that, what are your thoughts on Michael Owen? They will not really say too many positive things about him. He's just not really rated anywhere. But it does go to show you that being loyal these days, you don't get what you want. Being loyal, you kind of have to kick up a fuss. It's a shame. It's really sad to see.
Yeah, I think the coverage as well of what happened with Mark Gay yesterday was actually quite disappointing, as well as what's kind of carried on today, because it's all been very much, Palace have let him down and et cetera, et cetera. It's a tricky one, isn't it? If a player's contracted to a club for the duration of their contract, and essentially the club are the ones with the power to kind of make these decisions about the player's future. At the end of the day, I think Liverpool fans have been very kind of like just victimy in the whole kind of blaming Palace fans and blaming Steve Parish and Oliver Glasner. But the bottom line is, why would you sell your best centre-back and your club captain if you don't think you've got a suitable replacement lined up? I don't think they do the same with a player like Van Dijk. I don't think they'll do the same with a player like Salah maybe next year. That's just how it goes, and football isn't, unfortunately, just about the big clubs. I remember there were Palace fans asking, why couldn't we get a loan move done for Conor Gallagher? Because Atletico Madrid didn't want to accept a loan move for Conor Gallagher. There's two clubs in every single deal, as well as a player. And I think some of the fans of the bigger clubs tend to forget that at times and think that, smaller clubs should just roll over and just give their best players away for, on the cheap, essentially, because 35 million was an absolute bargain for Gay. As it stands, he's going to stay at Palace. He'll see it as part of God's plan, because he's a very religious person. He'll just see it as another step on the journey. And in January, he'll probably receive offers from abroad. The likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid will come in, and that will probably lead to him being sold in January for a fee to Liverpool. Anyway, the final story that I think we should end on, because it's quite funny, because I think he's a bit of a prat, is Emi Martinez. Obviously, the final day of the season, he kind of did a big crying, emotional goodbye at Villa Park, only for him to not leave. Now, Kyle, I've got one question. I want to know what you think about this. Why did nobody want to sign Emi Martinez?
Because he's not that good. He's not as good as he's not as good as what people like paint out. Like, they always talk about the World Cup, and it's like, it was nearly 4 years ago now. And I just think that he has got an error in him. He has got an error in him. I just don't think he's that good, to be honest.
No.
And also, he seems like a bit of obviously, I don't know, but he just seems like a like you said, a bit of a prat. Just a bit annoying, to be honest.
Yeah, it is just funny that he does this whole, because it is true. I don't think anyone can argue he has rode the wave of that World Cup final performance, and really that one save, that one-on-one save, wasn't it? Was it? I think against Kolo Muani. And he's rode that wave for 4 years.
Yeah,
he's been nominated for every Levi Ashton award, and it just blows my mind every time, because he's. To be honest, I wouldn't even have him top 5 goalkeepers in the Premier League. Genuinely, I wouldn't.
No,
and
God no.
the whole kind of just bollocks that comes with him, with his whole stupid little dances that he does. I think the problem for Emi Martinez is that he thinks he's a lot better than he is, and that's why he was maybe thinking that he'd be going to one of the biggest clubs in the world. As it's as it's played out, Manchester United have opted for a kid from Belgium, haven't they, in Simmons? So it's going to be interesting to see if he's kind of
Yes, yeah.
integrated way back in, or although as Unai Emery would say, Marco Bizot, Marco Bizot, Marco Bizot, and that's all he will say on that
Marco
situation.
Bizot.
Marco Bizot. Just that was one of the weirdest interviews
Marco
I've
Bizot.
ever seen. Anyway, I think that's probably just about enough. We should close it off around the hour mark for today. It's been a fun one actually. It's nice sometimes to have just two of us on or three of us on because we can kind of both get a decent amount of
Yeah, definitely.
airtime. And we hope you've enjoyed. So obviously give us your thoughts on the signings of the some that we picked, also just on the tier list in general. We're going to make sure that I'm going to make sure that Sam, I'm going to help him actually. I'm going to make sure that you get to see those, because I know I say a lot of the time, oh, you'll be able to see this on screen, and then it's never in the edit. And that's because, to be honest, I asked too much of Sam. But this I'm going to help him with. You will be able to see it. Let us know your thoughts. What did you make of the transfer window? Who was your favourite signing? Did your club do enough? Let us know all of that good stuff, and look after yourselves. We will see you on Monday. Cheers.